Well, hello and welcome to Get Awesome. And we are in the accountability check-in with you. And we had warned you in our last session that we were doing at the front end of the month would be an inspiration call, and at the tail end of the month would be an accountability check-in on the topic and on the learnings that were delivered in the inspiration call. So here we are. I am Jen Drakes, the also known as the original goddess, here with you, and my co-host is.
I am Katie Yates. I am a certified ULA life coach, and I am Coach Katie. So happy you're joining us tonight. If you're on, please put in the chat that you're on live and that you're watching us live and that you're listening to us, and say hi so we can say hi back.
Absolutely, and we'll wait for them to jump on. In the meantime, we've got quite a bit to cover today. One of the things, Katie, why don't you kick us off by telling us? So I just saw that it's come up because sometimes it just takes a bit to push out the stream. But so let's give them a while. Between you and I, we have done our year in review, which was a bit of the homework, I guess, that was given to our audience. And we did do our year in review. And we're going to talk about why we did it first. And then we're going to talk about our own perception when certainly it was the first time me doing this particular year in review. So we're going to talk about kind of how we felt going through it. Katie has her own spin on when she did it the first time, and it was the first time for me. And then we're going to share our responses. I had posted mine in the Facebook group. And if you're not in the Facebook group, please join the Get Awesome Facebook group. Become a part of the community, and we will, support the show. We will always have units for each of the upcoming months for you to download, take part in. So please jump on the bandwagon and get ooh la la awesome.
Ooh la.
Yeah, ooh la la awesome.
I'm wearing my ULA sweatshirt for you all.
Yes!
Remember.
We love it, Katie. We love it. We absolutely love it. So you're seeing what much fun we're having with this. So please jump on the Facebook group. Okay, so Katie, I'm going to pass it over to you, and you talk about the why and recap the why. And while I pull up and go and get my year in review, can you imagine I forgot to have that available? So let me get that going.
Okay, just wanted to start off with a quick question for folks. Did you do your marbles? Did you do your marbles? If you'll remember, I talked about there is a verse from the Bible that says, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. And that's Psalm 90, verse 12. So just a quick reminder, get a glass or a vase, get 81 marbles, and you put your age of marbles in one glass and your remaining marbles in the other glass. And it sort of gives you a visual reminder, if you put it in front of you, of that we only have so much time on this planet. We only have one shot on life. We've always heard life's not a dress rehearsal. So just a reminder about your marbles. And also, if you're like me, if you put something down and then you leave it there for such a long time, you no longer see it. So I have to sometimes have to move stuff around so I can see it again. So I did that just this week. I moved my little marble glasses around on my desk so I can see them again and pay attention to them. All right. So why do a year in review? Well, we talked about last time, for a lot of people thought 2020 was a sucky year, right? COVID-19, lockdowns, businesses closed, schools closed, people were being furloughed, maybe you lost your job. But the year in review is a chance for you to take a pause and to look back and to remember the good stuff. Because as humans, we're sort of genetically wired to focus on the negative. So unless we make a conscious decision to push the negative aside and focus on the positive, we forget that there was actually, and I know all of you out there was some good stuff that happened last year. Don't try to tell me that you had 365 sucky days, because I know that's not so.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a way for you to look back. What were great things that happened? What are your biggest memories from the year? What goals did you hit? What goals did you miss? Why did you hit the goals? Why did you miss the goals? And I'll just really quickly tell you, remember, this is my second year doing this. My first year doing this, I was not a goal setter. I'm not like Jen. I'm not that organized. So when it got to the questions about goals, what goals did you hit? I had to put none. When it talked to what goals did you miss, I had none because I didn't set any. Why did you hit them? None, because I didn't set any. Why did you miss them? None, because I didn't set any. So going through the ULA certification, and one of the things we're going to walk you through and we'll talk more about later is setting goals. So this year when I did it, I actually, could look back and say, okay, I hit these goals, and okay, I missed these goals. And I could answer the question. And I also told you that for me, and I suspect for a lot of you, looking back over 365 days is not something you can do in like 10 minutes, particularly if you're not introspective throughout the year to start off with. So it always takes me a while, and it'll say, 3 best things. And okay, maybe right off the bat, I can think of 2 of them. So sometimes I have to put the sheet aside and I have to go away. And then, as I'm getting into bed at night, something will occur to me and I'll think, oh, I totally forgot about that. That was so great. So if you haven't done yours, I cannot urge you enough. It's never too late. Print it out. It's in the units, and just start working on it. And don't worry if you can't fill out every line. Don't get stuck in the perfectionist habit that I have to have all the lines filled out. I have to have all the questions answered. If you've not done this before, just taking a stab at it is an amazing feat. And so I can just only urge you, just take a stab at it. Find the silver lining, find the good. Remember the wonders of 2020, because it wasn't all sucky, which has become my new favorite word. But
well, thank you for that, Katie, and I hope all of you do listen. I am a big, as Katie said, and I don't want, well, maybe repetition helps anyway. I am a big proponent of goal setting. And I continue to say that I would be lost going into a new year without my goals and my visions already stated and set. I would be lost without them. I really would. And that's because I've been doing this for many, many years. So in contrast to Katie, it was my first time doing this particular year in review, but I had already spent the fall reflecting on my year and planning for the 2021 year. So when I came to this, I found it easy. I was telling Katie that off the show. I found it actually quite easy. It did not take me a long time. But so I want you to see the difference between someone that is new to it and is not regularly doing goal settings versus someone like me that is not new to that practice and is accustomed to goal setting. And I think those 2 viewpoints are very important to understand. So we're going to go through, because I could have actually have done maybe 2 or 3 of these, because I had a lot of things that I could have, and I tried to pick the ones that, like if I were to prioritize, were more meaningful for me to capture on the form, as opposed to all that had occurred. Because for me, 2020 was a great year. It really was. But in order to understand why I say it was great, you have to understand where I came from, and why 2020 was a great year for me. And I could get into that in another show, but I just wanted to really set that understanding that everybody is different. They're at different maturity levels in goal setting. And so the year in review form that we provided could have a varied perspectives on actually executing it. Katie? So shall we take the time now to kind of like maybe go through question by question, get a sense for any that challenged you or were easy for you, and I'll go through mine as well. I have my year in review up, which, as I said, is posted on the Facebook group.
Sure. That sounds good.
So the first question on the form is my 3 best things that happened to me in this past year, which would have been 2020. So how did you find those questions, Katie? Were your 3 things easy to get, or did you have to really think about it?
I think for a lot of these, I could come up fairly quickly with 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the third one. And again, like I said, I know that there was more than 2 good things that happened to me last year. I'm just not remembering.
Right.
I like to look through my planner and look at my calendar,
Mm-hmm.
to sort of tickle my memory. Do you want me to list what I had?
Sure. I'm going to share mine.
Okay, so my 3 best things that happened to me this past year was I became a certified ULA life coach.
Yeah.
That I'm still cancer-free.
Oh.
And and I'm trying to think if I had this on here twice. No, I don't. I put the best thing was room 25, which is where I found. He's over here.
Oh, where I am?
I'm pointing you, and I'm going the wrong way.
I laughed at that. That's correct. You're pointing right now.
I know. I'm watching myself, and now I'm pointing the right way, which is where I met Miss Drake here. And several other people who've become good friends, and we meet monthly and support each other. So that's what I had for the 3 best things.
And my 3 best things were writing my book, and getting it published, and it is launched on Amazon. I'm going to do my own little thing. So please, Aladdin Carpets by Jen Drakes. So that was woo. And I think, let me explain the significance of this just real quickly. I had been writing since I was a child, but I always was what I call a closet writer. I would write and just hoard my writing. I would never really put it anywhere. And if somebody happened to share the same thing, then I might read them what I wrote or share with them what I wrote. But for the most part, I was closet. So for me to write a book, launch it, get it published, put it on Amazon is massive. So I just wanted to explain that. It was like coming out of the closet for me. I discovered I loved interviewing guests. So I did the podcast, and I was doing just an audio podcast, just airing my thoughts and my philosophies in living. And then I decided I'd do an interview, and I did the interview, and I discovered I love it. I love interviewing. I didn't know that. So that for me was huge. And then, like Katie, being placed in room 25, as far as I'm concerned, was a godsend. Oh my goodness. The people I have met, including Katie and others in room 25, have become my away from home family. And I feel so blessed. And I had to write that down. So I captured that as well, Katie. And that's why I laughed when you said the same thing.
And just for those of you that don't understand what Room 25 is, we did a Tony Robbins Virtual World Summit. And he had something, it was all on Zoom, and he had to get with the president of Zoom to set this up because Zoom is only set up for like 1,000 people. And he was like, that's nowhere near enough. Tony Robbins is a person who does in-person training for tens of thousands of people. So there were like 8,500 people, I think, on this training, this Zoom, and we were put into rooms on Zoom, and we were in room 25. And so from all over the world. And so one of the ladies who's in room 25 set up a Facebook group, and then we do weekly Zoom calls to see what's going on in our business, in our lives, how can we support each other? And the woman who set it up is outside Paris. And we have, Jen's in Canada. We have somebody from Belgium in there, and then we've got several that are all across the United States, from coast to coast. So that's what the Room 25 is.
And we never miss our Zoom calls. So the next question is my 3 greatest memories from this past year.
Mine was getting my tattoo.
Oh, you got a tattoo. I want to swear.
Well, I'd even show it here if somebody asked nicely. When I had breast cancer and had a bilateral mastectomy, and I opted not to get reconstructive surgery. So instead, I got a tattoo over my breast cancer scar.
Okay, cool.
Managed to get that done right before everything got shut down.
That is pretty awesome. Okay.
Because it's so large, it took 2 visits, and I had my first visit was March 4th, and then the finish-up visit was March 26th, which was the 1-year anniversary of my surgery, and it was right before South Carolina shut everything down.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So what else did you have?
I had I did my first ULA keynote on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And then my third one was this year. And I think when I did this, I think this has now changed. I fostered 5 dogs this year.
Okay.
They've all moved on to their forever homes.
Okay. Excellent. So one of my 3 greatest memories from this past year, the first one was pretty also related to coming out of the closet about my writing. I took a chance and I submitted poetry into a particular publishing platform. And when I did that, I remember someone saying to me, I don't think they were looking for poets. They're looking more for story writers. And I was like, oh, well, I'll send it in. And hey, it's not there now. So what's the worst that can happen? It's still not there. So I'll just send it in. And I got accepted onto the platform and published. But then in a discussion with the founders, they informed me that the poetry category had been specially created for me because they were so touched by my poetry and saw the talent in there that they created the category and launched with the poetry category with my poems. So I hadn't known that before. So I was truly, truly touched. And it really showed me and reinforced, don't have others stop you. Take a chance. You have nothing to lose. So that was a great memory for me. And then my other 2 was receiving the final book cover because it made my writing real. And then spending some authentic time with my sister. In September, I spent 3 weeks with my sister. And I have to say it was the closest time I think we spent together in many, many, many years. And I was able to work with her in the way I would work with a client and really bring some richness to her life. And so that was really meaningful for me. So those were my 3 memories. So now the next thing here's the ones that are always hard for people. Or sometimes for people it's easy to find the worst things more than the greatest things. But this one was a harder thing for me. The 3 worst things that happened to me this past year.
Yeah, I can only come up with 2.
Oh, okay.
It was the whole COVID and the COVID fear.
Okay.
And then not seeing my family, because I've not seen my family in over a year.
Okay, so I'll tell you my 3 were the fact that the gym closed. I always had to go into the gym as part of my lifestyle. And that one was really hard because I had to find another way to stay fit and to exercise. And I still don't think I've hit it 100% quite yet. So that was a hard one for me, a hard hit. Having to replace a stove and washing machine unexpectedly. So just from the costly aspects of that. And then this one, of course, everyone I think will understand, just watching the George Floyd video. I stay off of media I don't have cable. I don't have real media. I do on demand. So watching that video because of how it impacted my mom and not knowing quite what was going on was really hard for me. And to see the aftermath and just what it messaged as to where race relations were and things of that nature. So that for me was mentally, I think, devastating. And so that one was one of the worst things for sure. Okay. So now the next one, the 3 goals I hit this past year.
Mine was, of course, my ULA certification.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing Facebook Lives,
Mm-hmm.
and then sort of getting established in my daily morning routine.
Okay. And mine were, I miss posting 20 plus podcasts. What's interesting is I had more than 20 taped. I was so much into my reflection and planning for 2021, I actually omitted posting the ones that I had taped. So it wasn't that we didn't tape them or have them there. It was I forgot to actually post them. So I ended up with 19 podcasts for 2020, and my aim was to get over 20. Closing some specific business deals did not happen as I hoped they would, and then acquiring some business contracts because one impacted the other, but nothing to, I had a great year, phenomenal year, so I wasn't too miffed or anything by these. And the next one, the greatest lesson I learned from my worst things and missed goals this past year.
Me, is that I think for a lot of us is that I let fear/doubt and the Skittles get in the way. Mm-hmm. And that I realized that's got to be a daily battle. And I'm going to, in one of these broadcasts that we do, I'm going to show you the tool that I'm using. So that was it.
Okay. And mine was about sustainability, really. It's a word that I use both related to relationships and to many things in life. It's a word that comes from the business industry, but I really do think it's very fundamental in our day-to-day lives. And for me, what I was doing, even though I had a phenomenal year, I hit many, many goals. I did so many things. The pace, the way I was doing things was not sustainable. So for me, it was really about time efficiency and making sure that I got to sustainable approaches that could go into effective business operations. So that was for me my greatest. It wasn't, it's a realization that you could not continue the way you were going. So you had to come up with better ways of doing things. And 2021 will prove whether or not that lesson has been learned and applied. So here we go. The main reasons that I missed the 3 goals this past year.
The usual laziness and lack of focus. And again, back to fear and doubt. Am I enough? Am I good enough? Etc.
And mine was simply that some of the activities included tasks I don't like to do. So for the missed podcast, it meant editing and validating the editing. And that is a long, it's a long, tenuous task that I don't particularly love. So that's one of the reasons it was easily omitted or missed. It really was. So there you go. The main reasons that I hit the 3 goals this past year.
I just had one word: passion.
Oh, that's a good one. I can agree with that one, even for myself. But I think one of the things that I realized was I finally, and this was as a result of COVID, was able to align all three dimensions of myself, my physical, my mental, and my spiritual, really came fully into alignment, which meant that my inner voice, I could hear it more clearly. And that was leading me rather than me trying to lead it. And I felt all those things really helped me to attain all the goals and now the challenge is to keep those 3 things in alignment and continue on that and maybe even augment that voice more fully. So That was where I was coming from. And the three most influential people in my life this past year.
Mine are the ULA guys.
Mm-hmm.
I counted them as one. This lady right here next to me, Jen Drakes, and then a woman named Kelly Miller, who was the woman who started Auction for a Cause, which is the foster group that I rescue for foster for. And I actually recently took on the job of scheduling home visits and keeping tabs on who's been approved and who's ready for a meet and greet.
Wow, and you shocked me with me being on there. I'm touched. I really am. Thank you so much, Kelly. I appreciate that. For me, it was Tony and Dean, because Tony and Dean cut. If I had not taken the KBB, if I had not really, gotten into their program and their approaches, I would not have picked up the momentum that I was able to very quickly. So I mentioned it in the book that I thanked them for that. They gave me momentum, and I appreciate that. My mother is also one that has been very influential. She's always been influential in my life, but I think this year I have been able to look and assess at her at a particular age and kind of been guided as to what that point in my life could look like, and start to really formulate what I love about her life now, what I don't like, and start to even lay some foundations to take away what I don't like and do it better, even for her and me as her daughter. So she's been influential in that. And then my children. My children don't know what they know. That's the way I always say it. And when it comes to coming into the social media virtual world, they being young adults and taking everything they know for granted has also helped me to grasp some things that they just shrug and go, what do you mean? Just do this, just do that. And so they've been influential in making me comfortable in a world I wasn't in before 2020. So that is who I felt would earn that. The one thing I would do differently this past year.
Mine is to have better focus. And focus is my word for the year. I have a squirrel brain, right?
Right.
I can start on one thing and see something out of the corner of my eye, and I'm off into another direction. I can be working on something and see a Facebook message pop up, and I'm off in another direction. So my word for the year is focus. And I have to continually remind myself, that's your word.
That I love that. As you know, I don't have an issue with focus. I'm so laser focused. It's crazy.
I'm squirrel brain, so I got to tell myself, hey, remember, your word is focus.
I love it. I love that. And I'm sure that a lot of people can relate to that too, Katie. There'll be a lot with that. You wouldn't believe what mine is. Mine is about making particular types of changes, because remember those missed goals on the business front that I had talked about earlier? I missed those goals because I made a change that I thought was simple that ended up being not so simple and just wreaked havoc on my timing and on me and my life. And it was a nightmare, and it was related to making a change with a credit card. And it turned out to be a nightmare. So for me, what would I do differently? Really assess some of the things, some changes that I want to make, because I'm I'm just so laser focused. I go and I didn't look at the implications a little more closely. So that all ties to just, doing my due diligence a bit on certain changes, because I'm always so gung-ho and accepting of change.
Right. So unintended consequences.
Exactly.
If I make this change, what's the ripple effect?
Exactly. And because I'm a person that isn't fearful of change, I just learned that, sometimes you've got to just, hesitate a bit. You got it. And the one word that best describes my year in review, what was your word?
Learning.
And mine was amazing. Simply amazing. Amazing. So there we go. That's our year in review. I love it. And we did it in record time. I love it. So, guys, you can do this. You can do this. I encourage you to do it. Go on our Facebook group, Get Awesome. Look into the units, and you can download the form and you can work on it. And hopefully, those who already took the form have indeed worked on it. Okay, so let's move on now to how does this form play into really getting you ready? Because we're looking back, which is great. You look back for learnings, which is what this form does. It helps you to document what your learnings are. But what is the next step, Katie? How does this form now propel them to get a better 2021, to really have the right mindset? What's the next steps?
All right. Well, we've been looking at where we were last year. In February, we're going to do what's called the ULA Wheel. And I know that some folks who've joined this group have done it in the past, but it's again, it's not a one and done. But the ULA Wheel helps you determine where are you right now. And again, always remember that where you are is not who you are, it's just where you are. So the year in review looked at 2020, right? So we're going to start this 2021 with looking at, okay, I've acknowledged the good from last year. I've acknowledged the bad. I know I probably need to set some goals if I didn't, right? If I did, I know what I hit, I know what I missed, and I probably have a good idea of why I missed it. But let's take a look at where am I right now? And we're going to look at it in 7 key areas of your life. And then, that's the first step. It's like driving a car. If you're going to some destination that you don't know where you're going, in the old days, we used to have to dig out a map, right? Nowadays, you can either use your phone and plug in the destination, or you can call, if you've got a car with OnStar, you can call OnStar and say, I need directions to such and such. And what's the first thing, whether you're using OnStar or whether you're using your phone, that gets done, is that whatever method you're using, they have to find where you are now, so they know how to direct you going forward. So that's what the ULA Wheel will do. It'll help you determine where you are now. And then from there, we'll look at, where do you want to go? And then how do you get there?
And I love the analogy of the wheel and the move in, in my book, I use the analogy of a carpet and weave in that tapestry to get you up and soaring. But I love also the concept of the wheel, and because it's moving, right? Like you can look and say, how am I going to move forward now, especially in the dips? Right? Because what the wheel is going to show you when we talk about it in February is about the dips that you're challenged with. And those dips are your challenges, right? Whether it's finance, whether it's career, whatever, you'll start to look at that. And then you say, how do I raise up that dip to match the other and to be as closely aligned as possible? We're not looking for alignment, but it helps to make your wheel move better.
Right. And just think of a bicycle wheel. And when we go through this, we'll go into a lot more detail in February. But think of a bicycle wheel, and there's 7 spokes, which is fitness, finance, family, field, which is your career, faith, friends, and fun. They're all F's, and there's 7 of them. So if you're low in one area, think of your wheel's going to have a dip. If you're low in more than one area, you're going to have more than one dip in your wheel, and those dips are going to slow you down as you're rolling down this highway of life.
Excellent. So this is how the year in review fits into then the ULA Wheel and moving things forward. And as I said, this whole show is about hand-holding, guiding. We're not here talking theory and myth. We really want to handhold you through making 2021 lead into your best year, or a year in which you are able to make 2022 your best year, or years after. So this is a hand-holding show. So join us, work with us, and we'll be able to take you through these steps. So let's talk now about the planning, and there's some goals and how they set, SMART goals. Let's talk about that, and we can revisit it again in February, but let's talk about it on a high level, and maybe start to give them some thoughts, plant some seeds of thought as they think about goal setting and planning and where they want to go.
Okay. February is the ULA wheel, which is the where you are. In March, we're going to go into great detail about the ULA plan, which is where you are going to lay out goals in each of these areas. But if you wanted to get a jump start, if you've been in business and done any sort of business planning or having to do your own sort of plan for the year for your job, you're probably familiar with the acronym of SMART. SMART. And the goals that people set should be SMART. Your goal should not be, I want to lose weight. Okay, that's a goal, but it's not a SMART goal, because a SMART goal is a goal that is specific, it's measurable, you can be held accountable to it, it's realistic, and it's time-based. So you would say, I want to lose 50 pounds by June 30th, right? That's specific. It's realistic, right? 6 months to lose 50 pounds. Is that doable? It's got a time attached to it. So as you go through, as we talk about this in February, and as you start the ULA wheel, and even before then, you can start, because some of us know, I need to get my finances in order, I need to balance my checkbook, I need to do that consistently, or I need to lose weight, or I need to join a gym, or, So start thinking about those types of things and how you can make them specific. And March is the month where we'll really, dig down deep and get you to write down your goals. Because again, 80% of us don't set goals. 16% of us write them down, but then never look at them. Only like 1% of people who write down the goals and look at them every day actually achieve them. So just think about which percentage group you want to be in. I'd like to be in the 1% group.
And I want to, the way I want to add to this is I want to give some other alternate words for the SMART acronym as well. That may be more personal and more meaningful, because I think the specific and measurable has always, in those types of things, have been used in the business world. But now we're on the individual level. So I want to really just give some alternate ones. So when we talk specific, I want you to think of sensible, right? And it's significant to you. So that's another, those are other words that can replace specific. And also simple. Simple helps as well.
Yes.
So when you think of measurable, it means it's meaningful to you as well, but it's also motivating. When you think of achievable, you want to know that it's attainable and that it's agreed in some way, that your spirit agrees with it and your, things with it. So those are some other alternate ways to think about achievable. When we say that it's realistic, also look at, you want it to be results oriented. You want it to be relevant to you. And we want it to be, and of course, reasonable is another one. And of course, then time-based is, it needs to be time sensitive. So you're not going to put a goal for 2021 that you plan on achieving in 5 years. We need to get to be able to make goals attainable. And I know Katie has said this before, they need to be small steps. So what are the small steps leading to your bigger intent? And that's what you're creating with your goals, are those small attainable things that will move you forward and that you can actually see momentum taking place. And just to use the one that everybody uses is, I'm going to the gym. It's not, if you go through, it's none of these things, because if you say to yourself, I want to go to the gym and I'm going to start with 5-pound weights, but by March, I want to get to 10-pound weights or 20 pounds weights, That's very specific. It's very measurable. It's attainable, and it keeps you coming because you know that in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm going to move from 5 pounds to 10, then to 20, and you're seeing progress. But just to say you're going to the gym is a typical type of goal that will not happen, right? So just to give you an example of that. So think about all of that. So you've already gone what we're covering in February, and you've got what we're covering in March, and we still didn't give you the whole list, but at least you've got some insights on things that you can go. And we will have different units and materials and support documents that you can use to help you do this. So I think that's we've covered everything, Katie.
Yep.
Is there anything else that we should be covering before?
Nope. I think we've, given them a lot of stuff to think about. And just again, if you have not done your year in review, if I could come through the screen and sit down next to you and hold your hand while you're doing it, I would do it. So I can only, strongly suggest, strongly recommend, beg, plead. If you want me to whimper and cry, I could consider doing that. But really, at the very least, just print it out and look at it and maybe start to jot down a couple of things. Don't think you have to sit down and do it in one fell swoop, because I've not done, the 2 years I've done it, I've not done it in one fell swoop. It always takes me, a couple of times. And like I told you, a lot of times I set it aside and it may sit next to me on my desk for a day or two. And then all of a sudden something will occur to me that I had totally forgotten about. So yeah, please do it. Please do.
I hope you do. I hope you do. But I say, like, I talk my spiel about goal setting and reflection and review from September of the prior year. So we're now at the end of January. I will not be, me personally, will not be repeating this. I agree with Katie wholeheartedly. But January is the month that we try to set. And now we need to get into really going after whatever you have in mind for yourself. And how are you going to do that? So I'm not going to talk now about the reflection piece, but we will, coming up, we will have checkpoints on your goals to reflect in this year on how far you've reached and whether you're keeping to your goals. So I'm telling you, I'm not going to go back until you reflect on 2020, because now January for me is the month of change. I keep saying that January is is what I call the change month. And this is the time to change, to get your mindset in gear. And we will continue to work on your mindset now going forward. So please, yes, as Katie do the year in review, or do your own version of it. It doesn't matter, but try to make sure that you have a game plan for 2021 and not just a dream plan or a hope plan. And you actually have a game plan for yourself. So that's my message. And let's move on, because February, we are moving forward to move you to a massive year, a great year, and your best year, hopefully. So let's just do that. Okay, Katie? So as of February, I'm not telling them do any year in review. Sorry, the unit is in our Facebook group. Go to the unit, pull it down, and try to do it. But keep up with us, because we're going to be pushing and guiding you forward to try to get some things done this year for yourself.
Yep.
Okay. And with that, another edition of Get Awesome. And our next one, I'm always so bad at this, Katie. When is our next one? Is February
3rd.
3rd.
It's a week from today.
Yes. So on February 3rd, we'll be back here at 8 p.m. again. So hoping to see you there. And thank you very much. And you can watch the replay in our Facebook, on our YouTube, or even on Twitch. So thanks for
under Get Awesome.
Under Get Awesome. On Twitch, it's under Jen Drake. Sorry, on Twitch, it's under Jen Drake's because that was what I had already set up. So, but on YouTube and Facebook, it's Get Awesome. But it has all that you'll see. You'll find it. Thanks, guys. And see you in a week.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Night, everybody.